Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's one of those videos that really makes my brain think, where to start. Sponsored by Optima batteries, great company right there. We give a battery away every month just to a lucky subscriber. Go down through there and randomly pick. We'll do it at the end of this video for the last time we did this in January. So how do I pick the lakes? It's a lot of times I'm just reading through the comments and it's lakes that you guys mentioned in there. You guys really got me challenged because these are three lakes I've never ever fished. One of them's in Oklahoma and I've never fished it. Another one's in Alabama and another one's in Tennessee. We're gonna break them down and three areas where to start on each lake and why. I enjoy doing this. It's exactly what I do for a living. It's what I do when I go out there and I go to this next body of water, Santee Cooper. Where am I going to start? Where am I going to make my first cast? I try to give you a reason why and the thinking behind it. So you guys stay tuned. Here we go. All right, so where to start? That's the question. Which lake am I going to start to break down here for you? Let's do the hardest one first. I think the hardest one of the ones that you guys sent in is this Lake Harding. It's on the Chattahoochee River. It's not a very big lake. It's really a cool lake. It looks really mountainous to me when I look at it, just because it has so much shoreline. I think the lake's only 5,800 acres, but I don't know how much shoreline. I would say it's got a lot. It looks like it's got one really big feeder creek that comes in it, a couple other smaller creeks up the river. So where would I start if I was to go there in February? So let me pull up that lake right here. So when I look at this lake, I just see lots of shoreline. I see lots of current coming through it. I think of February, I think of water warming. What water's gonna warm the quickest? When I look at this lake, I see tons of boat docks. Like, holy smokes, you could fish a boat dock pattern for days on this. Andy Montgomery would love this lake. I don't know that he'd even practice. He would just fish, he would practice, but he wouldn't practice hard because he'd get 3 or 4 bites on a particular boat dock and he would go to town. So I think about the rain. Like, I feel like, things are really wet around here. We got lots of rain. And kind of looking at this Google Earth photo, you can see this water's fairly dirty going down through here, but these creeks are going to be cleaner. So that to me is going to tell me to get off the main river the first part of February. I feel like this water is going to be cooler. I feel like these fish are going to be, these creeks, these bigger creeks out of that current flow are going to warm up quicker. I say all that, and there's a couple spots up the river that I would have to check, especially towards the end of February. When you look at these backwaters up here, they're out of the flow. Like this one especially, it doesn't have a lot of runoff. Like it's just a very small area of runoff. Actually, this arm of runoff is going to have a lake. And I say all that, so it's not going to get overly muddy. Doesn't have a lot of water going through it. All the bass that live out here in this Chattahoochee River, they want to go right in here and spawn. So for me, an area that I would definitely have to look, especially, well, really, heck, you guys are south. Like, I think you could have fish spawning there in the 1st of February if you have a warming trend, depending on what year, what kind of year you're having. But man, this backwater right here to me is like, I would definitely have to look at that. There's one right across the river right here. Again, it doesn't have a lot of runoff. You can see like this would be the only area of runoff right here. So it's going to be a very constant water, not a lot of influx of colder rain, muddier water. And it's going to be shallow, so it's going to warm up really quick. That's kind of areas that I like to look for in February as fish are moving into spawn, and especially in a spot like this up this river. Like they go to that like really early, a lot earlier than a lot of people realize. And those 2 areas right there would be like 2 of them that I would look at, for sure. Just looking at it really quick. There's a couple more back down this river. It's going to be shallow getting in here. Then this is going to be deeper. That's going to be a really good one too. One of those up there is going to have a pile of fish in it, I feel like. So let's get back down the lake and let's look at something that is not backwater related. And I look at this big creek, and this creek just It's got all kinds of character. It looks like it has a lot of, it's got a constant flowing creek. This water, when I say constant flowing, it looks like it runs year round. It doesn't matter, you can see these shoals. I've got water coming around it. So you've got a constant water supply. So I could equate that to something I did here at the Classic back in 16. That Elk River had a constant water supply in a really bad cold front. Those fish weren't as affected as much because that water flowing in is a constant water level, or a little more constant than, say, the lake being up and down. And you could make a case, the very first few weeks of February, and you got some big cold fronts, man, fishing this backwater, outside bend, if you can get to that, or this stretch right here, or possibly this stretch right here, this water could be a degree or two warmer. It's not going to change as quickly as, say, some of those other flats or areas down the lake, because you have constant water coming in. I'm not saying that's it could be or couldn't be. This to me doesn't look like it has a lot of water flow, because it's not a very big creek like as the Elk was on Grand Lake. But it's definitely worth a shot. I'm not going to say it's not, and then you could just move out a little bit, and this big bay right here is kind of outside of the flow that would be going this way, and it's kind of wide and flat, and I just would think it would warm up really quick in here. You've got some bridges back here, guys. Bridges are never a thing that I ever overlook year round, and especially in February. You're going to have some fish staging on that bridge. You've got another bridge right here. Those are just very high percentage areas. And I've got a big channel bluff end right there. I am going to find a fish somewhere between this bluff end, this bridge, and this outside bend. Of those three areas, I could fish them in an hour. I'm going to figure out really quick, because this is some of the first deep water right here, deep water pinch point, and then I'm getting up into some shallower water. I am going to get a bite, I feel like, fairly quick between those three areas, and then I can expand on it. If I feel like those fish are shallow, then I can come in this pocket, man, start fishing boat docks. Fish the very last two boat docks. Maybe fish boat docks just on secondary points like this right here. Man, this lake's just so many targets, very target rich, and a lot of boat docks. I mean, I love these two boat docks on this big splitter point in the middle. I just like this creek too. It's a big main creek. I got another bridge and those bridges kind of restrict a lot of that colder, muddier water possibly coming in. So lots of areas right there on Lake Harding to look at. You could, if that creek is too big for you to break down, you just move right over here to this creek. It's a little bit smaller, and you could just break it down that much quicker. Now these creeks they don't have near the water flow coming in them like that other one. So this creek here is going to be cleaner. It just is. It's going to be a cleaner water. It's going to have cleaner water in it than that creek if you guys are getting a lot of rain over there. So I would pick a pocket and just start in the back. Like, I would start right here as far as I could go, and I'd start working my way out. I got a couple boat docks right here, the very last ones. I'd fish those. I'd jump. If I don't get a bite, I'd jump to, some of these points. That boat dock right there is going to be on an outside bend. I jump here to these boat docks, outside bend. I jump over here if I haven't got a bite to the inside bend to these boat docks, and I just start working my way out that creek in February to figure out where they're at, paying attention to my electronics, how much shad I've got around, paying attention to my temperature. Is there a temperature change from the back to the front? And paying attention to water clarity. A lot of times that water clarity is going to dictate, warmer water, colder water is going to dictate where that bait fish is. So that's how I would break that lake down. It looks really cool. Looks like you got lots of things to throw at on that lake. Looks super interesting. All right, let's go to the next lake. The next lake, I am going to do, this lake I've never been on either. When I look here at my sea map, it is Lake Arbuckle here in Oklahoma. And buddy of mine, Jeff Reynolds, I think he had like a 40-pound bag in it at one time. Like, mega big bass. I even lived down there close to it a long time ago. Didn't know it was any good at that point, or it was brand new, or didn't have those big fish in it yet, back when I lived in southern Oklahoma. But neat lake, not a very big lake, deep lake, with big fish in it. So it's got 3 arms that come into it. The 1st of February. Here's what the little bit I know about this lake. I think it fishes really deep. And a couple places that I'm gonna start, if I've still got that water temperature in the low 50s, upper 40s, which I feel like it would be right now with everything we got going on, I am going to look, like, without a shadow of a doubt, that bluff end point right there. I am going to look at, you know, say this bluff end point. You know, those fish, and you can take this to the bank on any other lake across the country, Table Rock Grand, any Highland Reservoir type lake. Out east, you guys have them everywhere. Those fish, they winter in this area, you know, like from here to here. They winter all right here, and then they slide up here and spawn, you know, or like this bluff end right here is a better example. They winter all along this bluff end, and then they come right around the corner, and they're going to spawn on these flats right here once it gets time. But man, all across the country on these bluff ends like that right there, those right there, those are great places to start, you know, the first couple weeks of February. Now, as February gets going, well, then you slide right around here, and your baits are going to change, your techniques are going to change. But, you know, same thing here. You've got a pretty good bluff end, a bluff point right here. You just slide into these pockets. You know, that's a good one right there because everything's super close. Man, I could fish from right there all the way back into here, and I'm going to determine where I'm going to get a bite really quick. And just because you get a bite on the bluff end doesn't mean they're all out there on the bluff end. There could be some fish already up there in the back of it. Let me look at it over here on Google Earth real quick. So when I look at it on Google Earth, you can see those bluff ends that I'm talking about. You know, this one right here, you can just see, I mean, these are spawning type pockets, spawning points. You know, in a clear water reservoir, they're going to spawn right out here on this point, you know, right out here on this point. This is a low water photo. When you put water on it, you know, I'm pointing right out here. Just a great area for those fish to spawn, and they can winter right out here on this bluff, all down through here, come around this corner. And, you know, by the end of February, I'm throwing a fritz side, I'm throwing you know, whatever your favorite crankbait is, possibly a lipless crankbait, you know, on these flat points, you know. Then it's just where and then you're going to go to a Carolina rig right there. Here's that one we talked about. So you've got this bluff end right here, then you can slide in here and fish these really simple. You know, this is going to be a good one because it's going to get some south wind blowing in it. You got some points in the back. I like that. So a couple spots to start. Now let's look at it a little deeper if you were to venture out a little bit. I noticed one thing over here I saw in the back of this creek. I've got some big, I'm guessing this is going to be a railroad. As big and as defined as it is, it's going to be an old railroad, and it's going to run, you know, and a railroad, what's really neat about those, they're really defined. You know, you think about a railroad, they had to get those up off the lake bottom for water and all that stuff, and they're, you know, a lot flatter than a road. A road can follow the contour of a lake. Well, a railroad, it needs to be flatter, and what that means is they're going to have a lot higher points on them. You know, everything's built up off the lake bed. So this one's going to run out across the lake. And what kind of intrigues me about it, Navionics, everybody uses Navionics, and when you look at Navionics right here, it doesn't show up. They've got a road up here in this bay, you know, when you look over here, well, that's not actually there. This is coming off of this point right here. So this hump right here is probably part of it, but it's going to run all the way out here, and it's not showing up anywhere. So I would get on my Lowrances, and I'd start idling, and somewhere out here, it's got to cross this creek. It's got to cross this creek. It looks to me like it comes back in right here. This is an old road right here. These little flat right here is going to be a good spawning area, so it's going to come right down through here, and I don't really know where it goes from there. It could come out, I don't know, somebody watching this knows exactly where it comes out. It could come out there. It could go all the way to the dam. A lot of times those railroads were things to get rock down to the dam. But with that said, it's going to cross these creek mouths, so it's going to be really high off the lake bed, you know, and you're going to have really good structure, and it's not showing up on my Navionics, so it's possibly one of those little hidden secret gems that you might find on this lake, you know, looking at this road bed that's going to cross this. So I would idle out across some of that stuff, and I would find me a school, a brush pile, bait fish, some irregularity on that, and it'd be a great place to start in February. It'd be a great place to start in May and June too. So there's some areas that I would look at on this lake. It's a cool lake. I'd love to go fish it sometime. I just never have. It doesn't look really, really big, but the little bit I know about it, I think you need to fish this lake deep. I think the big fish really relate deep. You know, Alabama rig swim bait, you know, the new forward-facing sonar, you know, jig head minnows, those types of things. Those are going to be things that are going to play in that lake. So a couple cool areas to start right there on Lake of the Arbuckles. Okay, the last lake. My buddy Ott Defoe is texting me nonstop. If you guys hadn't had a chance, we started a whole new YouTube series called After the Cast, and I wasn't even planning on telling you about this, but he's texting. It's me, Andy, and Ott kind of behind the scenes of our travel, and there's actually an Instagram and a Facebook page called Pals, Professional Anglers. I don't know, they come up with something on it. It's pretty cool, but you can look up Pals, or you can look up After the Cast, the YouTube series. It's brand new, but you guys want to go over there and get some laughs and kind of see what happens as we're traveling across the country. We have a good time. I don't know how else to say it. And Andy and Ott can be very, very entertaining. So you guys might want to check that out if you're bored or you're looking for something else to follow. I'll put some links here in this video for you guys to go check that stuff out. But all right, last lake. It was sent in by another. You know, I didn't even mention the readers who mentioned those others, or the viewers. Who sent in that Woods Lake? I didn't screenshot it. Somebody sent in Woods Reservoir in Tennessee. And I was like, okay, I've never been there. Let's pretend like I'm going. February. I think of February in Tennessee, and this area of Tennessee, it would have to be very, very similar to here in Oklahoma. It's not a very big lake. It looks like it's got grass in it. It's just cool looking, and it looks like when I go through Google Earth and I look at all the photos, it's always got water running through it. So it's a really, really constant level lake, you know, as is Harding. I didn't mention that earlier, but man, Harding never changed water level. Looking at this Google Earth photo, man, this upper end is muddy, muddy, muddy. You can kind of tell all that mud's coming out of here. This one's flowing clear. I like to know stuff like that, you know, when I'm going to a body of water, because a lot of times everybody will turn around out here thinking that this whole thing's muddy. Well, when you come here and you get in this little pocket and you see that it's cleaner, all those fish that were in this zone just slid right up in here, I feel like, a lot of times, you know. So I always like to check my Google Earth photos just to see, go back through time, see what rain does to an event, you know, see if there's little clear pockets. I find this very interesting, that's really, really clear in there. And it's almost like it's pushing out like there's a spring in there. I don't know that there is. Let me check it here on some other maps. Yeah, you know, looking here at my C map, I looked at the Navionics map. They didn't show that there's a spring in there, but it's just interesting to me that there's all this clean water pushing out right here with all this mud. So yeah, if I'm at this lake, I'm gonna slide through there and just idle down through there and just see if there's a spring out of curiosity. So let's talk about place to start. I'm getting kind of sidetracked here. February, the end of February, I'm always looking for warmer water. I'm looking for where those fish are going to spawn. Those big ones will get there first. Look at this pocket right here. You've got all this water flow, and I've got a clear water pocket. I'm gonna get this up to a current photo. Right right here, just look at this thing. This thing to me just screams like those fish are gonna slide in here and they are gonna line that pocket and spawn in there. Like the end of February, it'd probably be one of the very first spots that I would go check if I was coming there. On a warming trend in February, and especially the end of February, to me, that looks really, really good. There's a couple others I saw, like this one right here. It's just a dead end pocket. I don't know that you can get here. This looks pretty shallow across here. Yeah, you could get here because you'd have to come up this channel here. Another one here. I would just check out these little dead end pockets. They're just, to me, very, very intriguing. This one here looks like it's got a spring coming out the back of it. That's one neat thing about Tennessee. You guys have lots of springs, lots of things that happen. You got a boat ramp up here. That's kind of a bummer. Kind of makes it easy to get to. But I would definitely check out that pocket. Other things on this lake to check out. Man, you guys got lots of grass. I would just have to get on these grass edges so the water really changes. You know, this is a current photo. This is a January photo of 2024, it says. I've got clean water back here. That's all coming, looks like out of this pocket because that's the clean one that we saw before when we looked at that earlier photo. This one flows a little dirtier, so they mix and then it just kind of gets dirty. I really pay attention to that. I'm gonna really, really idle down through here, focus on my temperature gauge, focus on water clarity, focus on the grass, and find a stretch in here that has all the right mixture, just a little bit warmer, a little bit cleaner. Maybe it's a little dirtier and then it's warmer. I don't know. I really would study that. You got to think about lakes. The flatter areas of lakes always warm up quicker. You know, now if you got current running through them, it's still going to warm up quicker, but not as quick. So, you know, if you can find those flatter areas just outside of the current, you know, like this pocket right here, this pocket right here, you know, those areas are just going to get a little bit warmer than say right out here. And those fish gravitate to that stuff. They're looking to get up there as quick as they possibly can and go spawn. Now, if your February is like some of the Februarys that we've had around here and everything's super, super cold, yeah, they're not gonna be up there. So let's come back down the lake a little bit. I can't go by a bridge and not tell you not to throw at it, especially a bridge that's got a very narrow opening that a lot of water flows through. I'd have to stop and check that bridge out, guys. That's just a no-brainer. Here on out, going forward, in all the videos, if we pass a bridge, you gotta check it out. I'm making that disclaimer. Oh. I found this when I was looking at this. I looked at this lake really, really quick. Okay, so you've got another lake back here, and it's not connected. You see a boat sitting right here, no big deal, but it's not connected. But somehow water's got to get from that body of water right here to this body of water. Well, where does that happen at? I went back through these photos, and when I get to let me find it, a December of 2003 photo, look at this. You can see that muddy water is coming out right there. So I've got a big culvert right there that water's pushing out. So why do I want to start there in February? Because, man, that's a pinch point deluxe, and it's one that maybe not everybody knows about. Yes, people know about it, but not everybody. It takes a little research or a little reconnaissance with your Lowrance and your side imaging to idle down through there and find that culvert. But, man, I could throw my little jig up there. I could throw shaky head up there. I'm going to catch a bass right there where that culvert, where that water's coming out. Now, on this particular day that I'm there at your lake fishing, maybe water's not coming out, but what is happening, water's going back and forth with the wind, with all those things. You know, it's just a natural pinch point. And the other thing I love about it is if that water is coming out, this is going to be warmer water back here. It's going to be just a little bit, you know, warmer coming through. I just like stuff like that. So anytime I can find something like that on a map, to me, that's a jam up spot that I am definitely going to get a bite on. If we were to pick one last spot on this lake to catch something in February, I'm going to have to go over here to my C-map. And I am going to pick something more main lake related. And I say that because I want something just constant water, consistent water that hasn't changed a bunch from all the rain. So I'm going to come down to the lower end of the lake, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did over there on Arbuckle. I am going to find me a big bluff end, and I'm going to throw my my stunner jerk bait. I'm going to throw a jig. I'm going to throw a swim bait. And I really like this one right here. And the reasons I like it, it's just got lots of irregularities on it. When you look at this big bluff turn right here, it is in the mouth of a big pocket, facing north. It's going to warm quicker than a lot of other things. But it's got a secondary point coming out right here, and it's got a secondary point with a ditch coming out right here. So what happens a lot of times, everybody idles over these main ones, but I've seen a lot of times they come in here and they get right here on this secondary one. You know, people just don't go all the way in and see that, or you know, they'll idle this one, but they don't realize this point here comes a long ways out and touches the river also, and they'll be on that one. It's just one right inside of the next one. There's a lot of spots on Grand Lake where on these bluff ends, you'll go right in over this first little ditch, and the second one, they'll stack up on it, especially this time of year. So that would be one other spot that I would definitely check on this lake in February, throwing a jerkbait. Alabama rig if you throw it, those kinds of things. Those staging fish moving up in there to spawn. So guys, I hope this stuff helps you. Let's get right to the winner. Super simple. This winner right here, just see that you're a subscriber and you sent in a nice comment. I just screenshotted it earlier. I've got to find it. It says Angus Cole 1. Man, might be a cattle farmer with Angus. That's cool. But he just said, loved your vids indeed. Started fishing 5 years ago and haven't stopped, so addicting. I live up here in Maryland. Now the water's very cold. I bet you do have cold water. He just goes on, says some nice things. I appreciate it a bunch, buddy, for leaving that comment, for being a loyal subscriber and following the channel, man. You know, Optima batteries, they're a big supporter of me and have been for over 20 years. And an exciting note on Optima, we got lithium batteries coming out. They'll be out at Red Crest. They'll be available in June. But you winning this battery, Angus, you are the winner of the battery. It is only good for an AGM battery. The lithiums aren't available yet for promotional reasons or promotional purposes. We just don't have enough of them built yet. But you win an AGM battery of your choice, something right here like this. Just send me an email through my website. Really simple, edwinevers.com. There's a form down through there. Tell me your name. I'm not emailing any of you guys. If you get anything that says they're me, it's spam. So you have to email me to get it, and we will send you a certificate for a brand new battery. Thank you for being a supporter. You guys leave a comment on this one. Maybe you'll be the lucky winner next month. And until then, guys, good luck, good fishing. Hit that subscribe button, and I wish you the best.